and I literally could not sit down and read up until 8th grade, 9th grade. So then if you think about his walk with Jesus, it would make sense. What a bad take. What a bad take.
Kanye. What makes him a genius isn't the fact that he only reads the first and last sentence of his mom's text messages.
Ruslan.
You think he's being literal or is he being hyperbolic?
I think he's being hyperbolic.
Right? Kanye makes this statement that he's echoed before in music, but it's very telling. It's very telling of where someone is when they make these sorts of statements, right? Kanye released Jesus is King. Some of you guys think he wasn't saved. I would recommend you go watch Apologia Center's interview with his pastor, Adam Tyson.
Really?
That interview with Pastor Adam Tyson, I mean, he went to John MacArthur Seminary. This is as reformed as you get, right? And this was the guy who was discipling Kanye, who was helping him write Jesus is King, changing lyrics out. And he talks about all of this in length in his interview with Apologia Center.
Wow.
So here is an interview with Kanye where he says the very thing I'm talking about. And it's like, oh, I understand why you are the way you are.
Also, when you said I hadn't read this book, I actually haven't read any book. Reading is like eating Brussels sprouts for me.
I haven't read any book. Reading is like eating Brussels sprouts. Now, I don't necessarily have the preference of like carving out time every day to read books, right? Like I listen to the audio Bible and I have a physical Bible that I read. I have a bunch of physical Bibles. But saying that I've never read any book.
Yeah.
You think he's being literal or is he being hyperbolic?
I think he's being hyperbolic. And then I'm not sure, actually, now that I say it out loud. It's possible. I mean, a lot of people in their adult life don't read many books. So I would say in his adult life, it's very possible, no. At least finished a book. I think he's read books. But it's very possible he didn't finish a book.
Let's play the rest of this.
Eating Brussels sprouts for me. And talking is like getting the Giorgio Baldi corn ravioli. like a good conversation is Mike Howe, that invented the ripsaw with his brother Jeff Howe, was saying that when his mom texts him like long paragraphs, he reads the first sentence and the last sentence. This person and his brother invented the fastest track vehicle. They put it in G.I. Joe. They have government contracts. This guy is a full-on engineer, works with all geniuses, and for practical, not opinionated, practical technologies.
Kanye. What makes him a genius isn't the fact that he only reads the first and last sentence of his mom's text messages. It's the fact that he allocates time properly.
What a bad take. What a bad take.
Bro, what? I love it.
I listen, Kanye, me and Kanye follow each other on Instagram.
Me and Kanye are homies.
We're not homies, but we follow each other on Instagram. I've tried to reach out to him. I've tried to get pass on my therapist's contact information. Like, hey, like, this would be really
Ruslan, you're the most optimistic person I've ever met. I love
so
it.
optimistic.
He's like, do you think I should DM Kanye my therapist number?
Absolutely.
And I'm like, probably not. He's like,
no.
But don't you think it's doing him a disservice
Yeah.
if I don't at least reach out?
To be fair, he put up a post saying, I'm looking to expand my team. I need better people on my team to help me grow. I'm trying to get better.
And you're like, boom, a therapist.
A Christian therapist?
Not a photographer.
not a photographer. No. He needs a Christian therapist in his corner who loves Jesus.
No, it's totally
By the way, mastermyhabits.com. We have a bunch of free courses, but mastermyhabits.com is the therapist me and my Christian therapist put together this free class for you guys. Check it out. It's amazing. It's we're gonna do part 2. 100%. If Kanye follows me on Instagram, why would you not DM Kanye and say, hey, brud, you're going through it.
It's great.
You should talk to my Christian therapist who's helped me change some things in my life.
No, it's great.
That's not just blind optimism. He follows me on Instagram.
It's,
Don't minimize. Don't take that from me.
Don't take that. Did he follow you because he's following everyone with a black profile and you like finessed
He did
it?
at one point.
He wasn't like, oh, I'm a fan of Ruslan.
But he unfollowed a bunch of people.
He didn't unfollow you?
He did not unfollow me.
No, I like.
And he said, sorry, guys, I got to unfollow people because whatever. And so he did not unfollow me, though. And I changed my profile photo months ago.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's not just the black picture anymore.
Okay. Okay. So
But-
it wasn't the finesse.
I say that to say, Kanye, who's genius, he is.
Yeah.
We could say that. It's okay to say he's genius. Okay, that doesn't mean he's perfect. Doesn't
He's
mean
really good.
He's highly proficient at multiple things, multiple disciplines. It's very seldom will you find someone as proficient at multiple disciplines as Kanye. Producing, rapping, design, fashion, right? That's rare. It's okay
Yes.
to say someone's highly, and that makes him a genius, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, is saying he's never read a book. So then if you think about his walk with Jesus, it would make sense.
He's never read the Bible.
You've never read the Bible.
What a great
Right?
conclusion.
You've never read the Bible, bud. Wow. He says it in the Jesus is King album. Only halfway read Ephesians. Bro, I listened through the book of Galatians and the second half of 2 Corinthians in today's workout.
Whoa.
And I got into Isaiah.
2x speed.
2x speed. It is not that difficult. At 1x speed, you can get through the book of Galatians.
Yeah.
You can sit down and read the book of Ephesians in 20 minutes.
So he never read a book of the Bible.
He only halfway read Ephesians.
Wow.
Back when I used to think the book of Job was a job.
Yeah. That's great. Wait, so I don't think there's anything wrong with comparing reading to eating Brussels sprouts.
I love Brussels sprouts.
I know.
Monette makes Brussels sprouts
Okay, here
and
we
puts
go.
bacon on them. We have them for Thanksgiving.
Okay, I'm talking about comparing them to a vegetable that is not your preference. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Your preferences should follow your convictions.
Oh my goodness.
I naturally don't have a preference for Brussels sprouts, broccoli, or kale. I eat those things and have grown accustomed to enjoy those things because my convictions and my preferences follow my convictions.
Have you ever eaten something too much and then you don't like it anymore?
No.
Well, you're a
Only
psychopath.
only when I've done a bad job cooking things.
Okay, so yeah, I mean,
So when I've done salmon, remember when I went through my salmon phase when we went to the? Did you go with me to the? You went with me to the first
to
Grow videos.
Aldi's.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it was like gushy salmon with gushy sweet
It was
potato.
frozen.
Yeah, it was gross.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I got tired of that, but that's because I misprepared it. I
So-
could eat salmon every day. I could eat broccoli every day. I could eat Brussels sprouts every day. I could eat kale every day.
Okay, so what I'm saying is the average person has a palate, and I've eaten lots of Brussels sprouts.
Uh-huh.
But my wife made this one recipe, and we had it multiple times a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I liked it. And over time, I was like, it's not my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I will eat any vegetable. It doesn't mean I don't like vegetables, and it doesn't mean that your conviction, like, you know what I'm saying? You made it too deep.
I don't think it's that deep. If you don't like reading, you read, and so you learn to like to read.
Okay,
That's not
no,
deep.
I agree with that.
That's very sensible.
Oh no, I agree with that. I'm not saying. I'm not.
I don't know how to read. I didn't know how to read, Zach.
Okay.
I literally did not know how to. Have I told you this?
I didn't know how to read either.
But no.
I'm serious. I was born- I was like 6
You
months
were
old.
born in a family with a mother and a father that
Wow.
loved you.
Well, until only when I was 3 years old.
Yes.
Okay.
I was born, and English was my second language, and I literally could not sit down and read up until 8th grade, 9th grade.
Dang, that's
Like I
gangster.
couldn't sit and read and process information. I could kind of fit together words, and so they had me in this like after school program.
There's a lot that makes sense
thing,
right now.
right? No, but I'm gonna get to it. And I was in this after school program thing, like in elementary school, and I would memorize the books
Okay.
and read to fake read because I would just memorize when someone would tell me this. I just was able to memorize them.
Don't you hate when you find out that your homie is low-key genius?
Let me get to the point.
You're low-key genius.
I'm not a genius.
Bro, you memorized books so that when people had you read them, you could just fake read. That's genius stuff.
Okay, I will receive it.
And I don't like it.
So listen, as a kid, I couldn't read. And then somehow my environment changed and I got into 8th grade and my GPA went from like 1.5 in 7th grade, I flunked,
Okay.
to 3.8 in 8th grade.
Okay.
But that's because there was no homework in 8th grade. You just listened and you can retain information from the class and then you could just perform. And then I went into high school and you actually had to read books. And I
Okay.
struggled. And then my GPA dropped to like 2.0 freshman year of high school. And what happened was I started dating a Christian girl.
Okay.
And she gave me the Bible and she gave me a Stephen King novel. It was called Desperation. And that's in freshman year of high school was the first time I ever sat down in my life and read, and it like read and see the picture. Like you can read the word, I could read the words out loud to you, but I couldn't cognitively process it. Freshman year was the first time I read anything and I saw a visual in my head.
Gotcha.
And so that was because I read the Bible and because I read a Stephen King novel, and I wanted to become smarter, so I kept reading harder books.
Okay.
Your preferences should follow your convictions.
Okay, so check this out. Is it possible that it can still be compared to Brussels sprouts? So this is what I'm saying.
Yes, and I'm saying it can, and eventually, what Kanye said, reading is like Brussels sprouts, eventually I grew to enjoy Brussels sprouts. I grew to enjoy avocado. I grew to enjoy broccoli. I grew to enjoy kale.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I'm saying is this. It can still not be your absolute preference. You know what I'm saying? Certain days there will be Brussels sprouts, and then imagine there's Brussels sprouts and there's donuts right next to each other. If there was no effect on your body, certain days you'll choose the Brussels sprouts, certain days you'll choose the donuts. So what I'm saying is this. If it is like reading Brussels sprouts, I don't find anything wrong with that. When you choose to stop eating the Brussels sprouts, that's where there's something wrong with that. When you brag, I never eat a vegetable in my life.
Yes.
So when he's like, I've never read a book in my life, I'm like, that's a problem.
That's the problem.
Because,
Correct.
because it's okay to not prefer vegetables. I don't think it's that deep. I prefer kale. I actually like kale. I will make a kale salad all day. Balsamic, you know what I'm saying? Like simple as that. It's not that I dislike vegetables, but this idea of like it being not your preference is okay as long as you do overcome that. I don't think it's this like mind over matter thing.
It doesn't sound like he overcame that.
Yeah, it doesn't sound. It sounds like he's bragging about never eating vegetables,
and he
so
thinks that like that's the hack.
Yeah,
like, I don't ever read.
Yeah, and that's why he's like my smart friends only read the first sentence and the last sentence. I was like, but it's not because they can't read.
Yes, and so what I'm saying is, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
there's a lot of information out there about his brain. There's a lot of information out there about a marriage. There's a lot of information out there about following Jesus. There's a lot of information out there about conquering addiction.
And you got to read to find that stuff out.
And you got to read to find that out.
I'm going to just wait till I get the YouTuber version of it.
Right.
You are the YouTuber version of it, actually. That's awesome. You are.
What does that mean?
You like find all these studies and you kind of make videos about them. This is awesome.
I guess so. But to be fair, I read.
Yeah.
And then I immerse and try to apply.
Oh, no, 100%.
I don't read just to keep reading because I'll get overwhelmed, and I can't have so much information where I can't execute on said information.
Gotcha.
So I'll read like a book, like 2 books a year, and really try and go and like live out the concepts of the books.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I used to shoot podcasts for a celebrity trainer. He also trained like NFL players and stuff. And we interviewed a second string quarterback. And he said, and he's been second string his entire life. Like that's how he makes money. Like bandos. He's doing fine. And he said the hardest part about being a second string quarterback is learning the playbook and perfecting it every week, but not being able to execute on it.
That is very hard.
That's a trip. Can you imagine like learning all this stuff and then not being able to execute? And then you're like, all right, got to learn the next one. The next one.
I'd rather read and apply than to like read everything. People like, I read a book a week. I'm like, that just sounds overwhelming.
Yeah.
Because there's so much information that like I can't execute on, where I'd rather just slow process read. What do you guys think? Like, do you like to read? Do you think this is a serious detriment to someone who is definitely struggling to a degree that Kanye has clearly struggled with his relationship with God, with personal stuff, mental health stuff? Do you think it's a connection? I think there's a connection. I think it's connected. Personally, what do you guys think? It's an and both for me. I got to hear it and I like to read it. I love Audible. Right now, I'm catching up on my 1-year Bible, and it's primarily through Audible. But there's nothing like sitting down and reading it. But to be fair, it's also pretty cool hearing it and be like, ooh, like what chapter is this? Let me go pull it up. And it kind of hits different when you hear it than when you read it.
Yeah, that makes sense. The fact that you listened to this interview and you weren't just like, oh, he hasn't read any interesting information, but you're like, he hasn't read the Bible. Like he self-admits that he hasn't read the Bible is kind of sad and hilarious at the same time.
And guys, I would recommend if you're a follower of Jesus, read through the Bible at least once in your lifetime. Like really, at the very least, one time you should. If you're anchoring your entire worldview on the Bible, which I am 100% for, I would recommend you to read at least through the Bible in a year. And you could do that all kinds of different ways. You could do that on an app. You could do that through Audible and get the Old Testament, New Testament. I really would recommend that just so that you at least know what's in there. Because a lot of y'all don't know, and it shows.
Oh, mastermydevo.com.
Mastermydevo.com. There you go. Free resources for you guys.
Reading's really good for your brain, though. Like beyond just learning things, like the actual act of reading is proven to. If you read, I think it's at 10 pages a day. You know, roughly 10 pages. You are more likely to either it was like live longer or had a better memory retention as you get older. Stuff like that. So, and not to mention, you shouldn't be on your phone or like at screens. I think it's like 30 minutes to an hour before bed. So if you were to build in like 20, 30 minutes of reading 10 pages a day, you know, it's doing really a lot for your sleep and for your brain.
And that's probably, and I would say reading the Bible every day is probably why we push that for Christians, right? Because it's not like if you don't read the Bible every day, you're in sin. But it's a thing you get to do, and it probably helps exactly with what you just talked about. You know what I mean? Like, and it gets you to be more curious. I mean, the reason why the world became so educated is because the ink press came over to Europe, and all of a sudden we wanted to share the Bible so people can read for themselves. And literally the world became transformed and more educated because of that.
And it said that Simeon blessed God.